really wish I wasn't so polite because I would really just like to just say all those actual things.
You're not always polite. Beth learn.
Rude.
Okay.
Welcome to Fit2B Radio. Slip on your minimal sneakers, notch your headphones into your ears, tuck your smartphone into your pocket, and take us along for a walk while we talk. Or just grab a cup of your favorite drink and get on the floor and stretch a bit while we bring you all things fitness, core, and diastases recti related.
Wow. What do we call this, Beth? Fit2B Radio. All right. Hey everybody, welcome to Fit2B Radio. My name is Chris Banky and I'm here with Beth Learn. She is the CEO and founder of Fit2B Studio. And we also have an amazing guest with us today, Dr. Michelle, who is an expert in hormones, an expert in autoimmune. She's a naturopathic doctor, an acupuncturist, and a functional medicine doctor, which is pretty amazing. So we're super excited to have her. We asked her to be part of our Fit2B Girls course. If you don't know what that is, you should check it out on our website. But I'd love to hear from you, Beth. Why did we pick Dr. Michelle? What do you think about the stuff that she talks about in the course and just overall?
Well, I chose Dr. Michelle for several reasons. First and foremost being she's a woman who understands hormones. And I was also fascinated by the information on her site about period pain relief and what my friend Kelly at the Tummy Team had said about working with her and how much it had helped her and her cycles. And Kelly really encouraged me to connect with Dr. Michelle. And so we literally met for coffee. I stood her up on accident the first time. She's like, hey, yes, I did.
Wow. And she's still on the podcast. That's fantastic.
I know. She was very forgiving and gracious. She texted me and she's like, hey, I'm sitting here at Old Town Battlegrounds coffee shop. Are you okay? And I'm like,
oh my goodness.
No. And she was nice enough to agree to meet with me again. And yes, thank you very much, Dr. Michelle. But so then I asked her, look, I think you'd be a great fit for this Fit2B Girls course that's for young girls who are really just starting their cycles, and girls can start their cycles as early as 8. And if they don't know how to handle those things, then they can be in for a world of hurt and discomfort and confusion. And then that causes problems down the road when they're in their childbearing years. So I was delighted that she said yes, and she contributed this beautiful lesson on natural period pain relief that is written to the level of these young girls. And so we're going to be talking about that course today, and also more along the lines of hormones and how they play into our health and fitness and how they affect us from girlhood through womanhood.
Yeah. So we, all the time in the world, in our culture, we're always blaming hormones for things. Hormones this, hormones that, hormones this. So Dr. Michelle, can you talk a little bit about what are hormones? Let's get real basic. Like, what are hormones? Why is it important for girls? Why is it important for women or men, all people? Why do they need to even pay attention to this? And just explain that to us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so super basic. I mean, hormones are our little communication messengers. So they kind of tell our cells how to behave in different parts of our body. If you think about our adrenal glands, our thyroid gland, as women, our ovaries, as men, testicles, these tissues are kind of told how to behave, when to secrete other hormones that affect other tissues. Obviously, it's key for reproduction. But I think that you're right in saying that a lot of people do tend to blame their hormones when perhaps, maybe the hormones are playing a part of that, but why are they playing that part? What is causing that imbalance if there is actually a hormone imbalance? And so I think that that's really important. And I think for girls to kind of get in sync with their cycle and kind of understand what these hormones do in their body and when the hormones do certain things in their body can really help them to tune in, to kind of what's happening. Why do I feel this way? Kind of checking in with themselves. So
that's awesome.
Go ahead, Beth.
I was just going to say that I was told early on that, I have hormones. But it was definitely the blame game early on. And it's only been in recent years, so we're talking my early to mid 30s, that I have gained a full understanding of hormones and how they can affect me and how I can do things to balance them and I can do things to throw them out of balance, how that affects various aspects of my health, not just my reproductive health. And that's really where the Fit2B Girls course goes, is we're not talking about sex in that course. We're literally talking about why you should understand all these things for your general health, because these girls aren't ready for reproduction and they're not necessarily ready for the full-on sex talk yet, but they are ready to talk about how, hey, look, what you eat affects your mood and it affects your energy and affects your skin.
How your mind is working, your level of focus. I mean, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that it's interesting that we like to pick things that we can blame things on, and hormones do kind of take that responsibility or that role on a lot. But it's a good hormones and the way that they work with the body and how they relate to all of the different components of who you are as a person. That's a good thing if you understand what's actually happening with your hormones, with your body, all these different things and how they work together. And it's very complicated. Like it's not always so obvious. And I'd love to learn more about functional medicine and how that ties into hormones and how, Dr. Michelle, you're like, what is that and how does that play out in the day-to-day with you and your patients and what you do?
Yeah, great question. So, a lot of people come to me with various symptoms, like we were just talking about, possibly hormone related, possibly not, things like weight gain, things like fatigue, things like brain fog, heat or cold intolerance, lots of varying symptoms. And so with functional medicine, I would definitely measure hormones and kind of see where we're at. And if there is a hormone imbalance, whether that be in the thyroid, whether it's like estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, cortisol from our adrenals, I want to look at that for sure. But if those are imbalanced and we see that pattern of imbalance, I want to know why that's imbalanced. And so with functional medicine, I go through a really, really thorough history and intake to sort of strategize how we're going to approach whole body or holistic health. So, is there, a gut issue going on? Is there some malabsorption that's causing the inability for the nutrients to be actually absorbed into the system to create those hormones as building blocks, right, that we need? Also, sort of, what has happened throughout their timeline and their health history. A lot of women that I see have had shifts in hormonal balance due to pregnancies or due to even toxicity exposure. That can actually be a really big one. A big buzzword out there is the xenobiotics, right? These or xenoestrogens, these sort of toxic compounds that are actually communicating in our body like hormones and actually causing this disruption because they are not hormones and they shouldn't be sort of attaching to our receptor sites and things like that. There's a lot, just kind of really getting to that root cause, like what is really causing that imbalance? Why are you feeling that way? Why is your body responding that way? And there's a lot of things that we can dig out. Yeah. So
rather than taking a straight medical, which there's a place for that. Clearly you do medicine stuff, but instead of saying, okay, here's a problem, and then here's the medicine to fix that problem. You actually go kind of almost backwards, not backwards, but you look back and you say, what's causing this? And instead of medicating the problem, let's actually get to the root of what's causing.
Yeah. And it's like not necessarily working backwards, but like you said, it's like working upstream. We're looking upstream to see, why are you having these effects? Because these symptoms that we experience, whether it's period pain, whether it's cramping, whether it's PMS, mood changes, all breast tenderness, all of these things that can happen with hormonal imbalances, we want to know why. That's just your body communicating with you and just telling you, hey, something is out of balance. Can you please help me figure out what's going on? And a lot of times we just suppress that with pills or, things like Motrin or, we kind of pop those things to help decrease those symptoms, but it's not really addressing the cause.
Yeah, I think that's so important. I think we're in a culture today. I think all the podcast episodes so far, we talk about this because I think it's really important, but our culture wants a pill to solve their problems. And sometimes that's okay. But more often than not, almost always, it really pays to look at the whole picture and actually understand what's really happening, because your body doesn't usually do things for no reason. So just taking a pill to address the pain might fix the pain, but you might be ignoring things that are really important. And I'd love to hear from both of you guys, like in your lives as women and as professionals, how do you see that affecting people in ways that they should be paying attention to?
I know for me, when a woman is tired, she's not going to exercise. When she has brain fog, she can't keep her own life straight, let alone her kid's life.
That's true.
Mommy brain is real. It attacked me just yesterday.
Mommy brain. I've never heard mommy brain.
What? Oh, yes, you have.
I can't believe that.
No, it's scientific, right, Dr. Michelle? It's a thing.
Yeah, it's an actual thing.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's the most simple and straightforward way I see it. If you're not getting enough sleep and you are depleted, and you also are dealing with some postpartum anxiety or depression, that's even 2 or 1 of those things is going to set you up for less success in your fitness goals.
Yeah.
I'm sure Dr. Michelle can speak to some of how that cycles around, where extreme fitness plays into those exact things I just mentioned.
Yeah. Well, kind of what you were just saying, I feel like as women, especially busy women who are running around with kids or, their business or whatever, the first things that tend to go or get knocked off the schedule are self-care practices, the things like the fitness, the things like, meditation, things like self-care, taking a bath. Eating. Right?
Sleep.
Sleep.
All of these like
sleep. Oh my goodness. So important.
It's like, how can we possibly be functioning optimally, and how can our body be happy when we're literally depriving it of these things that actually nourish us and recharge us and restore us so that we can function? So
now here's an irony, and I've been thinking about this lately, is the mainstream version of self-care equals pedicures and hot baths and going to see a movie and eating a bunch of junk food.
Right.
Okay, but so pedicure, and I love
There's a place for that.
All right,
stuff.
I've got the fake nails. I know. I actually, there's the long story behind those, but it's like, so okay, you get a pedicure, you soak your feet in a bunch of potentially gross stuff, actually, and then you get a bunch of paint painted on your toes, and so okay, you go to a movie and eat junk food, and then you also buy those mainstream bath bomb fizzies that are also full of junk. So those things, okay, let's just hear it straight from the horse's mouth, Dr. Michelle. Can you just speak a couple sentences on that?
Yeah, that was like that. It's kind of like a toxic overload, right? So
it's actually like the opposite.
Yes, it can actually, unfortunately, be doing more harm than good. Yeah, for sure. And so we want to make sure that those activities are really nourishing. So as far as baths go, I'll just put in Epsom salts, maybe a couple drops of, essential oil, and just relax. I'm really liberal with my Epsom salts. I'll put probably 6 cups.
No, me too. 6 cups, yes.
As much as I can. Yes. I order like the 25 or I think they're 20-pound bags off of Amazon. And just
you know what's even better? I get them from the feed store. I kid you not. Because I figure they're good enough for my goats.
Are they?
You can get a 50-pound bag. No, yeah. I've been doing it now for like a year. So
okay. Because I know
they
there are some
just fine.
That aren't okay.
No, they're
those big old.
Well, this is the one that you're supposed to be able to feed your livestock. So I figure, hey.
50-pound bag from the feed store is how much?
Like $20.
Wow. That's a lot more than the little tiny package that you get at the store.
No kidding.
Yeah. No, I love that. But yeah, even things like just, going out for a walk, with your kiddo or your partner, or, there's so many really awesome things, journaling, listening to some guided meditation or some music. Yeah. There's so many really restorative activities that you can do that won't sort of, go against what your goals are.
Right.
So you're saying when it comes to self-care, make sure you're actually caring for yourself.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and don't do things that could disrupt your hormones. I like that term, hormone disruptors. That term makes sense to me. As a woman, it's not so much all the propaganda, because that's what it kind of feels like sometimes. The stuff that's been going around about don't cook your food in Saran wrap, you're gonna get cancer, and it's like,
right.
I don't really understand. I understand.
You don't make that connection,
right?
How do we make that big leap? Yeah.
Yes. So help us make that leap.
Yeah. So basically, xenoestrogens. So these are sort of compounds they're chemical compounds that come from the environment, various forms of pollutants, plastics for sure. Let's just talk about plastic because you mentioned the saran wrap.
Yeah.
But basically those xenoestrogens come into our bodies, and actually the little compounds will connect to our hormone receptor sites, which takes the place of another hormone that actually does its job. So it kind of boots that hormone out of its place. And then we have these hormonal imbalances, because if you put that on, a larger scale, you imagine that happening to a bunch, thousands of receptor sites, right? That's really going to throw things off.
That makes sense.
A huge thing you had mentioned earlier about girls getting their periods as early as 8. So that sort of precocious puberty, that sort of early onset of menses, I, am really, really, really curious about the environmental impacts of that, because I really think that a lot of that is really coming, unfortunately, from toxicity in our environment.
I agree.
So that's happening more and more, and it's a new thing. So what should a mom do when that's what's happening in her home with her daughter?
Great question. So the first thing that I usually recommend is making sure that all animal products are organic, ideally grass-fed or pastured. That's going to really reduce the toxicity, especially of the hormones and the antibiotics that are typically added to those products, just as they're grown. But organic produce as well for kiddos can be super, super important. There's been studies out there, unfortunately, I don't have it in front of me, but that shows that within just 3 days, the urine from kiddos that have been eating organic has dramatically cleared out as far as that toxicity level goes.
Oh, wow.
So huge, huge, huge impact that you can make. And
that's amazing.
As far as organic stuff goes, like a lot of people the cost, it's so expensive. But there's a really awesome website called, it's EWG.org. It's the Environmental Working Group, and they have a Dirty Dozen list and a Clean 15 list. So you can kind of choose, if you have to choose which things to buy organic. You buy the Dirty Dozen, always buy organic. The Clean 15, you could go either way, whatever's most convenient for you and your wallet. So.
Right. I love that. You just said something that really spoke to me about the body's ability to clean itself out when it's given the chance. I mean, it's an amazing system that is designed to regenerate and clean itself out and reboot. But we just don't give it the chance.
We get in the way all the time.
Yeah.
And then we go do our self-care and fill ourselves with chemicals and Butterfingers at the movie theater, popcorn.
And I'm guilty of some of those self-care things, like I mentioned, but I love the concept of simple things that people can do right away that are swap outs. So if you're using bath bombs, go get up some salts instead.
Exactly.
And if you want
it'll be cheaper.
Go see a movie, but dare I say, smuggle in your own organic.
I always smuggle in my own things.
You don't whisper. Every single person smuggles in stuff to the theater.
Somebody out there is like, I cannot believe that would ever do that.
Well, they need to just smuggle it in and see how good it feels to eat your own stuff that you didn't pay $80 for.
And knowing exactly what's in it, and make your favorite treat, whatever that is, if it feeds you mentally, emotionally, physically, for sure. It could be a little sweet treat. Who cares?
That leads into one of our questions, which is, what are a few things you would recommend right this second that our listeners and watchers could do today? Just a couple easy, doable, implementable. That's a word, right?
It is now. Implementable. It's a word now. I love it.
For period pain specifically, or for hormone balance?
Yes.
Yes, all of those things. So, Epsom salt baths actually are fantastic for period pain. A lot of women find a lot of